Montuma Mahama, Mahama, Montuma Mahama, John Mahama, Montuma Mahama, Onuaneko, Montuma Mahama, John Mahama, Montuma Mahama, Mahama, Montuma Mahama, Onuaneko. From the south to the east, we are there. From the west, NDC are best. Ankreta Nigeria, Bedia Dance, NDC, dear, and one year John Mahama, Mahama, Montuma Mahama, John Mahama, Montuma Mahama, on one echo. We are picking random for the youth. Free SHS Mumpe way number pedia. NDC dear and no one near John Mahama, Mahama, Montuma Mahama, John Mahama, Montuma Mahama, Mahama, Montuma Mahama, on one echo. From the west to the east, we are there. From the south, NDC are best. Ankreta Nigeria, Bedia Dance, NDC, dear, and no one near John Mahama, Mahama, Montuma Mahama, John Mahama, Montuma Mahama, Mahama, Montuma Mahama, on one echo.
All right, represent for me. My about 1 hour with Munuvius with GDS. Ubia home a and nay a special day and Yankopon dear Maya Yababaji Ghana Asiho. That is something we're gonna do today because we can qua weekends but could be deal why it becomes so special. Say Menewo NCA na asige di Ghana bro. Indeed, that is something we're gonna do today. With GDS Ubia home a program a 1 hour with Munufi. Sounds on a channel a 1 hour. With Monufi and to beat my YouTube, so I'm going to beat me away on Facebook and Timmy Pacho, but I'll be here every day. Something I'm gonna like it today. Now, and NDC, any massive crowd be our crowd. That is something we also gonna show you because me was sure say nipa dodo na no manya kwan and to me I'm follow that program now. That is why I've taken my time to come back and then show you how I say program now. Now one very funny thing as well. I say, "Oh, say nyankopon timi tu ani paka." Say nyankopon ka so utua oka was tie bi bi. Mo ka Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum. Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum bona dwuma sono wo Ghana. Papa gina simpie so ka kire Ghana for say yen trouble ntia John Dramani Mahama because John Mahama mambu no enye. If I show him when go a particular video.
Tell them, especially all the people who voted for John Dramani Mahama, that they have gone to waste their votes. And the vote that they have wasted, that is the vote that has now sent us to the IMF because John Mahama says he cannot manage our economy. So he has taken the economy and handed it over to the IMF. And they are telling us what to do. And some of what they are...
According to Paa Kwesi Ndum no, so the Ghana echo IMF, it means a winning mama mo. Now, we can't IMF for say winning mama mo nti me boom animal. That is the theory according to Paa Kwesi Ndum. Paa Kwesi Ndum economists are yin papa pa say na Ghana e friend adwuma wura. Utimi bie nwuma bebre under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama na Tamils abezo yin. Paa Kwesi Ndum was a businessman yin yin no. Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum under former President Kufuor now a minister. Inti Kufuor mamono ba wie na NDC be take over no Paa Kwesi Ndum establish banks are almost me aka say Ghana kurubia so na Paa Kwesi Ndum bank ho. And that time, the Paa Kwesi Ndum gyina simpie so ɛka kyerɛ Ghana for say John Dramani Mahama ɛmmɔ ne ho mmɔden. That is why Adwomama de Ghana call IMF. Inti entoba inti Adwomama de emfa aban papa emra. Now if I'm to show you a lot of the campaigns na Paa Kwesi Ndum na no catch the team before say abato eye wan kasa wo ne wo de. Inti wo to aba wo to ma wan kasa wo ho. Inti omon to ba nyi John Dramani Mahama de emfa aban papa emra na ne businesses no em flourish. Ti Paa Kwesi Ndum koso e kansem saa ema Ghana for dodo na no ene Paa Kwesi eye adwen afei die to abade ma aban papa na Paa Kwesi Ndum pese wo kire na Paa Kwesi Ndum businesses na ya mutu afei na Paa Kwesi Ndum edwana ko John Mahama wo se wo kwa akopa ne chew because Paa Kwesi Ndum hu se John Mahama kia ne ke oba be the next president of Ghana enti oba be kan kire John Mahama se John Mahama ba omwa na omfa ne license ma no san fanya adwuma enti okwa akoto ne bo ase akire John Mahama mu ensema akoso aban we mu a ono na dwen mu no enye ibacho yenko Paa Kwesi Ndum second round bima ono a odi John Mahama tem no osan ko gina John Mahama nim se onti ni sufre.
The most money locked up from our different companies in all of this. So the impact has been big, a huge negative, and we've been digging ourselves up from that. But very specifically, we wanted to give you a petition, which I will explain it just briefly. And we've also made it as brief as we can. So I want to give you this petition. Okay. And this petition, simply, we believe that when you take a look at it, you will understand the reasons why we believe that anyone who will occupy the seat of the presidency should take a look at all of what had happened with the so-called financial sector review and cleanup and so on and so forth. So people say that there was a financial sector cleanup, and they also say that they required people to bring new capital. I would say ask the entire banking system, how many banks brought new money into the system? And you'll find there was very little. Many people restructured their balance sheet and through going about to revalue the positions, came up with additional capital, if you will, but very little new capital. Some that came from outside brought some new capital, but very little capital got on the table, most of which was also taken away by the haircuts from the bonds. So the system is today facing a lot of stress, but our particular specific situation is this. We built a bank from the very beginning, saying that we wanted to be the people's bank, to be everywhere, to serve the ordinary Ghanaian. So from the word go, we said we're going to build at least 300 branches and serve at least 1 million customers. And that we will be in where any major market is in this country and provide services across. So we built not just these 300 branches. In actual fact, we built 305. And we put in the technology network so that no matter where you would be, whether it's in Wedana or Sisala or Pusiga or wherever, that you could access your bank account from anywhere. Or you could also decide that I'm in Avrongo. I want to go to Kumasi or to Makola to buy some supplies, but I don't want to carry cash. so I don't lose it. So you go to the branch, you tell them, here's my money, I'm going to Paa Kwesi Ndum, I'll collect my money. So they'll just go safely, pick up their money, buy their supplies, and go home. So we built this network, which then became the focal point for economic development in many of the areas. Because now, if I know a specific man in Wale Wale who sold building products. Before we got there, his business was small because he couldn't drive through all these bad roads to go and deliver supplies, go and collect cash. But with our system in place, anyone, whether they're in Saboba or wherever else, will go to a branch, deposit money into his account. Once he verifies it's sitting in Wale Wale, he will then send the supplies to them, and his business was thriving. Now the business has gone down. Okay. So we feel that collapsing a 300-branch financial entity is inimical to the economic interest of the country. So whether it even belongs to us or belongs to someone else, it is something that needs to be there. Secondly, since our license was revoked and left a number of those places, nobody has gone to those locations. Nobody has decided that I'll go to, they are not here, so I'll go to Willency. They are not here, so I'll go to wherever it is. Nobody's gone there. And so there's nothing happening in those places. We had thousands of employees. Those employees don't have jobs. And because of the banking sector problem that showed up, who is going to give a branch manager a job today? So those people are jobless. And some of them are doing some really menial jobs with the education that they have. So that didn't happen. And there's a problem there. We also built quite a sophisticated digital money system. So some may have heard about a system called Pay Global. And
I don't know, but what I think is that Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum seems to be addressing and explaining these kind of things to the wrong person. As we speak today, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President of Ghana, and Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo has been your friend. That is why you campaigned against His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. So why didn't he go to Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo? But listen, instead of him apologizing, he started to explain things that he has been doing, and that's it because who's buying a that is the rationale. Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum was rushing to go to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. But the end toss in some of Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum, Eka.
And others that we built with your app, you can do all sorts of things. That system obviously is collapsed. Now, we consider that we built one of the first. People talk about interoperability. We did this, more than 6 years ago, and that system, it doesn't work now. Okay? Made a huge investment in that area. It is not working. So we've spent a lot of money, a lot of investment in the system that today is not doing anything for anyone. So why did this happen? It happened because quietly, we had been the entity, our whole group, that was funding Ghanaian contractors. There are a number of them. I know you know some of them. We put them in business.
And one very controversial thing that Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum is also bringing here, and he said, Dr. Bawumia or Namse interoperability in Ejumano. Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum said he built it already. And he doesn't even understand why Dr. Bawumia will be working today and saying he's on a mobile interoperability by. That is the argument that Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum so deba. So, Bawumia nam say or the digitalization about mobile money interoperability or start here Ghana kura is the first country in Africa. You prove actually Kenya start here Ghana and now Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum so deba say there be masanya na ye because as part of Group Indum we have already done this 10 years back. And what was Paa Kwesi Ndum is now learning to expose NPP, and for that matter, Dr. Mahmudu Bawumia mo. Mepacho ihentu aso.
Finance their contracts. So when former President Kufuor took over, they decided, and I was there, they decided that they weren't going to give advance money to contractors, that you should go and get your own money. And when your project gets to a certain phase, the professionals, technical people will go and take a look, certify the project, they pay you, then you move on to the next phase. If they don't pay you in 90 days, you get to charge interest on it. And that was a system that was put in way back in 2001 or so, because it was said that people would get advances and do all manner of things with the money and not do the work. So up until 2017, cumulatively, we had financed up to 14 billion Ghana cedis worth of contracts, cumulatively. So that's the impact that we were having on the system: bridges, roads, school buildings, and so on and so forth. Now, in 2008, when we started asking for our money, what we said was there at that time was 1.8 billion Ghana cedis. What? 2018 was 1.8 billion Ghana cedis. And this came about because when the new administration took over in 2017, it decided to freeze all contracts and said they were going to review them and reject whichever ones that they would reject. Well, they did the review. None of our projects was rejected. As a matter of fact, they gave even more contracts to a number of the contractors that we had pre-financed. But they would pay the new contracts and leave ours, right? We said, just give us 300 million Ghana cedis of contracts, work done and certified. And if they had done that, none of our companies would have suffered any challenges. They didn't. So Ministry of Finance said, go and get an independent person to audit these projects, which we did. When the independent person did the audit, they rather came up with an amount of 2.2 billion Ghana cedis, right? This money is what today has come up to over 7.1 billion. Now, knowing all of this, the governor who is there sat with me and said, look, why don't you accept to be reclassified from a universal bank to a savings and loans company, knowing that for savings and loans, the minimum requirement is only 15 million. Okay, 15 million. So do that, continue with your business, and then when monies are paid, then you can come back and request to be brought back to universal banking status. I went back to the directors, said, okay, let's do this. So January 2019, they give us a letter saying, here are 6 conditions that you must satisfy over a 6-month period. Now go and become a savings and loans company. So we went and started working. After 6 months, we prepared this report. It's a transition report for the 6-month period. We gave it to them in July. All of the requirements that they gave us had been satisfied. And we said our capital at that point was about 200 million Ghana cedis. Now remember, savings and loans, you require 15 million, right? So imagine my shock when I'm sitting in Chicago doing some work, and in August, I'm told that they have taken our license.
All right. Indeed, this is the first Azan NPP are buying, and Ananado Demko Akufo-Addo, Alhaji Dr. Mahmudu Bawumia, and then the then Finance Minister Ira Kenufureta started the play Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum. Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum didn't know, say, no, must set a trap. The man say, from your bank and your mobile savings and loan, then we cripple you. Depending on do much on your campaign. You didn't know them very well. They had already planned to cripple your company. If I tell you, Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum,
said, under what pretext? Under what condition? What happened? Okay? Because this report we gave to them, nobody called us to say, come and let's talk page 5, what you put there is wrong. Or page 6, there's something that we don't understand. Nothing. Nothing. And I've been showing this to everybody, that we went through and did our work and said everything was okay. And indeed, the people had started coming back to us, giving us new money. The old OPIC in Washington, which is now DFC, we went there and signed an agreement for $20 million, okay, to bring in and put into the business. All of that went away because of this action.
Presenting this petition to us. It's a matter that has engaged our own attention, and I have made several pronouncements about it in the past. I believe that the action of this government was a knee-jerk reaction to a situation that should have been faced with reasonableness, level head, and a calm disposition. Professor Soludo says that the ownership of capital matters, and that the ethnicity of capital is real, and that every country's financial and banking sector is part of its national security architecture. And so I do believe that indigenous participation in the financial sector is critical. And the current lopsided situation where we have a dominance of foreign banks in the financial sector is not the best that Ghana should have. And so you have a lot of empathy on this side. The issues with the financial sector began as under our watch. We knew there were liquidity issues and all that, but it needed a calm head to unravel it and deal with it. And so we went into putting in the necessary legislation, including the bill for guaranteeing deposits and so on and so forth, so that we could solidify the legislation in the financial sector and then deal with it when we came back with a renewed mandate. It's not the first time we've done a banking sector cleanup. Under FinSap, we had struggling banks and we dealt with it, and the banks came out stronger after FinSap than before. And you remember we created a non-performing assets recovery trust that took, the toxic debt and dealt with it, recovering those debts. In this case, I have said before that banks like yours, GN Bank and UT Bank and all the other banks that were closed, were indigenous banks that were dealing mostly with small and medium enterprises. And everybody knows that in the banking sector, that is the risky end of the market. And so definitely, if there's going to be problems with liquidity, it's going to come from that group. And so I believe government should have handled it differently. If we had continued in government, this would not have happened. I mean, we must look at the social impact too, throwing out about 10,000 banking sector professionals.
I think some His Excellency Ekachere Paa Kwesi Ndum no a wise man's talk. See, we knew the problem. Our banks and Ketwanamo, that is why I know so much. But Senkayen, that's why I buy ma, and Ka bank you guni, and came massa. Say, yen, that's why I buy ma, and Ka bank ya you guni, and Ka massa because you nim choir, Nanka do befaso. Very, very wise saying, I can't say Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum no. Me show so no akọ dadwen ho a obetini adwomama e ka kire no ase.
Some of them are bakers today, others are Uber drivers and all that. After all the training and education they got, I mean, there are best practices that anybody could look at. I remember the Bank of Scotland or something during the financial crisis was about to collapse with massive consequences for the British economy. And so what did Britain do? They took equity in the bank, liquefied the bank, and the bank, returned to profitability in a short while and took the equity back, paid it off, paid off the loans. We could have handled it that way. And in any case, who says that all banks require a certain capital reserve? And that's why we are talking about a tiered banking system, because banks exist for different purposes, they have different objectives, and they cater to different segments of the market. Not every bank needs to be a Class A bank with capital reserves of 400 million cedis. There are small banks like, Wells Women Banking and all those, and other banks that cater for specific segments of the market, and they don't need 400 million cedis capital because they're giving small loans like 1,000 cedis, 5,000 cedis, 2,000 cedis. They're not lending to the Unilevers of this world. And so I do think that government was hasty in what it did. If you look at the criteria that was used, it didn't fit. It was not a one size fit all. It was just like different rules for different folks. And so, yes, like you said, a lot of these banks had also financed government suppliers and contractors, and government owed them, and they owed the banks. And so even if you did an offset of what was owed, then probably the liquidity issue would have been resolved. But government says, no, our contract with those people has nothing to do with you. We are dealing with you as banks. And so it's your business to recover that money. But how would they recover that money if you don't pay the contractors to pay them? And so I do think that it was hasty, and it's affected indigenous capital in the financial and banking sector. And we have pledged that we would work to restore, the capital of indigenous businesses in the financial sector. And so we are advocating an independent review of the processes that went into the banking sector clean out. And where we believe these were unjustifiable, look at the restoration of the licenses of these banks. The details are being worked out by our manifesto committee. He talked about an equity fund and all that. And so those are all things that we would look at. It's a pity. I go around the country and I see those your micro little brick and tile GN banks, and they are firmly shut with padlocks. And there's no financial service to the community anymore after the closure of those little mini banks. And one would like to see them come back, because we are looking to bring as many people into the formal sector as possible, and financial services are the best way to capture, those people. And so we'll be happy to look at the petition, but like I said, I think we are speaking on the same wavelength. I know that there are some legal issues too outstanding, but it's something that we would be looking at before we come into office. And if by the grace of the votes of the Ghanaian people and by the grace of God we do come into office, you can expect that you will all get a sympathetic hearing, in trying to unravel, what has unfortunately happened. So thanks again for presenting the petition, and I wish you well. You're not looking as bad in real life as the photographs make you look out to be. There's one where you have your hands like this, and it's like the world has come to an end.
Mahama so when say ya twetwe o twetwe Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum kakra se no de na ba wi nyankopon na tua ne ka no nyankopon na hene sa no was wi ase na ba wi ama Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum go the first time I meet Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum and ti nyina efufu abodwe me say adena pasca agoro na mfa na wone pani kakra Ghana ya mo wododo etisika so come the this is a lesson for Ghanaians. One would say sometimes when you tell people that election have consequences, many people do not even understand some consequences in the Akwetia Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum no. Because when he was campaigning, he your mama and mama no. Later did he know and he was dining with the devil. That is the problem. I continue. When they were saying, about John Mama, they didn't actually know Nipa no Mokoto Abamono. If they knew, they wouldn't have done that mistake. But of course, 7th December is another test time. Yeah, they best Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum answer. Today, I heard Paa Kwesi Ndum to me call your mama holding the swift record to him. No, I heard Paa Kwesi Ndum beat men and tears I can't tell Ghana for say, Omonto Majo Mama, we are watching him. Paa Kwesi Ndum and Timmy and Kandia is a lesson for all of us. You have another test case about to go and choose the right leader. Obetimi ACC minor. I can't tell me boom unity. Then the president Kufo can say here will be a come mining in a boom and you'll be over kind of bush and kwana boom. That is something that we need. Until the message mama tembiana ye kwa batwa we should check. Because we are 4 years. How does the Paa Kwesi Ndum how miano? Mia papa is on number I am mobile. But anyway, as I say, sometimes we do it like that. All right, inti baby I had Ghana akono na do mo share boss ye Ghana mama ombema Ghana ayende. And so ne uhia na omde yama yakwaba. Mamu boni ama ene Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum nam ene ohu abeg. Timamufu e bread arehon sem na Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum akotana John Mahama ni ma wakane sa no. There be enyo do honyum enye nsra kwa. Arehon sem na Dr. Paa Kwesi Ndum akotana His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ni ma na wakane sa no. Nti se wan hwe ni ya obekasa mamu no eni nsunsa so. Na we na ene test case bi akoso won kran. Akra amamu. Yeah, in another the kind of greater across the greater Kumasi. NDC helpful be it was so massive say, yeah, Yakwanko be no for my be there. Yes, you how Ghana for I already say they want to change the next government. Ghana for I already. If I show me the moko now young Kohenia a course and ne ewa Ghana.
Everybody who has turned out this morning for this fitness walk. This walk is the beginning of the launch of the campaign for 2024. And I expect that all the regions will also do their version of this walk. It shows that NDC, we are healthy, we are ready for the campaign of 2024. Even the rain has not been able to stop you. All of you who have walked today from the starting point to here have done 6 kilometers of walking. And that God should put you in good health and prepare you for the job that we have ahead. We're going to go from door to door, from house to house, from market to market, taxi rank to taxi rank, church station, kitchen, chop bar, everywhere. Ghanaians are, we're going to go there and send the message of NDC. It's a long time since I saw the Ghanaian. It's a long time since I heard his song, but his message is very instructive. My father, the way you do, it is not fine. The way you do, it is not fine. Every day and every night, I suffer money matter. The way you do, it is not fine. I suffer the way you do, it is not fine. So we're telling Akufo-Addo, the way you do it is not fine. Bawumia, the way you do it is not fine. You make Ghanaians suffer money matter every day, every night. But that's the beauty of democracy. It affords us every 4 years the opportunity to make a change. And that opportunity comes on 7 December 2024. I just want to say that when you have a sickness, the first step towards getting a cure is to diagnose the sickness and know that you are sick. Unfortunately for this group of people in leadership, the NPP, they don't even recognize that Ghana is sick. For somebody to say that there is no hunger, there hasn't been hunger since Akufo-Addo came into government, it means because he's eating peche and the rest of us are eating pocho, he doesn't know that there's hunger in Ghana. But everything has a time. Every dog has its day. And the NPP's day is up on 7 December 2024. I know that Dungwa and Teshi have fishing communities. And all of them are complaining. The way pre-mix was organized in our time. Your presidency here, me. A year short affair, Nebasa pre-mix Sunday. If they landed beach committees, they have pre-mix Akahame, they are Jackaha, Fishermen. I can like pre-mix Akaha chairman and the women's organizer. Kaka Fishermen, I hate pre-mix hairdresser. Kelba Obasa, Koni, pre-mix Fishermen, talk about 3 initiatives, and I talked about it when we went to Iowa Swiss and Adenta. The first is the National Apprenticeship Scheme. As I've said before, not all our children are imbued with the same mental ability. You can have the same children sitting in the same class. When the teacher teaches, one is able to catch it immediately. And so we think that he's smart, he's knowledgeable, he's intelligent. There's another one who is slow to learn. And so we might do an exam, the sharp one will continue to university and all that. But it doesn't mean that the one who does not catch it very quickly does not have the talent that God gave him. Take those two, the one you say is slow and the one who is smart. Put them in an environment where they have to use their hands. And you find that that other one is better able and more skillful than the one who gets A in class. So all our children have a talent that God gave them. So it cannot be that we give free education to one group all the way to university, and yet when the others fall out, they are left to their own fate. Not all of them can go into the TVET centers. And so our strategy would be to introduce the National Apprenticeship Program, so that for those who are not able to continue into tertiary education, they'll be able to go into an apprenticeship and learn a skill with their hands, so that they can also find work. And if you have to learn a skill under the National Apprenticeship Program, it will help you to be able to establish something for yourself and be able to earn an income. And I said that even if your intention is to go outside the country, if you have a skill, it is an advantage for you. Because if you are a mason, it's easier to find work as a mason. If you are a carpenter, it's easier to find work. If you are a welder, it's easier to find work. So when we introduce the National Apprenticeship Scheme, I expect that all our young people who are idle and not doing anything, they are not in education, they are not in employment, at least they'll come into training so they are able to learn a skill under the National Apprenticeship Program. The second one is our women. Our women are a major driver of this economy. If it comes to trade and commerce, our women dominate that sector. And most of the time, all they need is just a little credit, 1,000 Ghana cedis, to be able to use as capital, to be able to do their business. And yet there is no helper. The traditional banks won't give them support. And that's why NDC says when we come into office, we're going to create the National Women's Bank. The bank will have outlets in the major markets and everywhere that women have their small and medium enterprises. So that the little credits that they need, the 500, the 1,000, the 2,000, the 5,000, that bank will lend it to the women, and as they pay, to be a revolving fund and will be given to other women, and they will improve their circumstances. Because women form the majority of our population. The population census has continuously shown that women are 51% of our population, more than the men. And so we're going to give this focus so that they can be able to resolve their issues. 24-hour economy, number 3. Crisis. We cannot turn the fortunes of this country round as fast enough if we continue to work only from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that is the point I'm making. If we continue to work only from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., it will take us decades to turn this economy around. And so we need to be running, not walking. And our opponents say, oh, but some people are doing it already. Fine, some people are doing it already. But there's no policy that incentivizes people to do it. That's all I'm talking about. And so we are going to introduce a policy that gives incentives for more business people and manufacturers to adopt the 24-hour economic policy. Because if we incentivize them and they add on additional shifts, even if it's only one shift, if it's even only one additional shift, that will create additional employment for young people. Our unemployment rate is unacceptable. It was just about 8% in 2016. Today is 14.7%. And so we have to deal with the unemployment situation. All those artificial job creation policies have not worked. You recruited young people for national, the NAPCO program. Up to today, you haven't even paid them their arrears. Bawumia and Nana, I'm speaking on behalf of the NAPCO trainees. We beg you, they are on their knees, pay them what is due them. And so finally, about the election and our constituencies. All of us who are capable must volunteer to train as party agents. So wherever you are, if you are an accountant, you are a banker, whatever profession you have, if you are capable, please volunteer. We have to train you. However intelligent you are, if you are not trained in the electoral process, you will not be able to police the poll for us. So if you submit your names, it will be submitted to the Elections Directorate. We will know the polling station where you vote. So on that day, you're not just going to vote and go back home. You're going to vote and you're going to sit there and protect the ballot for the NDC and the people of Ghana. You will sit there and protect the ballot for us. Going to sleep on 7th December evening until all the ballots have been counted. I don't want to call any constituency executive and your phone is off. It is not the duty of the Elections Directorate. It is the duty of the chairman, the vice chairman, the secretary, the organizer, youth organizer, women's organizer, and all the executives to stay awake for 72 hours. You must not sleep until the results are declared. And I wish to assure Ghanaians that we are going to protect their ballots. Vote for the NDC and your ballots will not get lost. We will police the poll and make sure that every single vote counts. And so please, let's all gear up for the election. This fitness walk has been very good because we don't do a lot of physical activity now. Today, you see young people and they have kidney disease, they have liver disease, they have diabetes. It's because we're all seated, we're not walking, everywhere we go by car. And so we must do a little physical activity. If you do physical activity, it prevents you from getting hypertension and diabetes. And those are the things that trigger kidney failure and other sicknesses. So please, let's get active, let's get involved in fitness. And I want to thank all of you who came. 27th July, we are launching the campaign for 2024. We are launching the campaign, and once the campaign is launched, there is no sitting down. The campaign is for all of us. It's not for Joshua Alabi, he's the campaign manager. It is not for your constituency campaign task forces. It is not for your regional campaign task forces. It is for every one of you. Any spare time you have, wear your t-shirt. We're going to send you leaflets. And you go from house to house and distribute the leaflets to your neighbors and tell them the message of NDC. That NDC is going to come and solve this economic crisis and create job opportunities for our unemployed youth. We will change the hopeless situation that has been created by this administration. And as I said last week or a week when I did a media encounter, it is not us who are asking for accountability. The people of Ghana are asking us to hold this government and the people who have stolen from the people of Ghana. We should hold them accountable. It is a demand from the people of Ghana that anybody who has misappropriated the people's wealth must be held to account. Anybody who has captured state property illegally must be held to account. And so, it is not a threat, as Nanajan said, it is a promise. But let me sound the caution that as we hold them accountable, we will hold our own people to accountable if they do the same thing. So, on 27th July, Tamale is the venue. The national campaign campaign is going to be launched in Tamale on 27 July. And so as many of you who can be in attendance, please, you are warmly welcome. The victory of the NDC is coming again, and it starts in Tamale on 27 July. I thank you very much, and God richly bless you.
All right. In here, that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ase ene nsempa papa idama you know how John Dramani Mahama Kasana is one of the best. But 27th of this month here, Tamale NDC launch campaign into Ghana kwanda be ready, and then you know yenko keke abambone no entontwene. That is something you know about be amamua enye de enya de setima woni bia so enti yentena se nka se amamu we enye nanso ye de ye tena se ahwe kopem se da bi eye mene wo nyina ase de se ye hwe ne etu abambone ne efri ho. That is something you know about start 27th December ye to about 27th of this month ye launch campaign no. Always royal memao akwaba o say within 4 years, Mahama established 2 universities and training colleges, 50 e-blocks expanded the term harbor. And I said for, I think so, but Nanado de or the Nano, NDC dying. Nanado projects away in an Ebukum, it doesn't exist. One village, one dam. Ubisana were here, they will tell you in book, say, but in reality, no, so that is how NPP are minded. And that is the difference between NPP and NDC. NDC can't. Oye NPP no it doesn't even exist. Nti abuja for now 1 hour with the monofie me de mobesi wa ha na nyame ya adoma ochena ye ma say Monday nti Monday me no besi 5 p.m. Ghana time na afide e de agono asese so me da obi a otimi join me and be as always royal militant. You also part of it. TN also joined Raphael Akume menia me pacho bibia boko de Danyamia say, Malam, and so I join here, Dambaba, Oba, Medase. What meant my mode, and I think there are a lot of you guys, William Bab, Cap, me name, William, Bibiaboko, and Anana own so by a whole lot of you. What meant to me, I'm molding with Pacho now or the chairman, yes, a boapaye. Sometimes yana in seminal adults and just if I say, and I was for 1 hour with Munufi, me don't be so about me Pacho, subscribe here. But more than so subscribe to this particular channel. Send be a time be online be and live be with me notification now join okay YouTube and so video tab and so you get a lot of videos nti by many be just bit me join me. What join that dance and so subscribe that dance na what my like ya share send be ya for front so and sabeka me din any William Munufi amankona nyankopon anyone tana. Bye bye. Wo de wa no fe fire ho Woto yemrade, isa yema utumia, omeyimu beyede, ya brabo beye fe, nenupe, nwama ya pabe, yebye ya pno yama ya kwabe, papa wosikanso, ni medi hiao, oko jesi chana wa breye mpone. Muntuma Mahama, Muntuma Mahama, John Mahama, Muntuma Mahama, Muntuma Mahama.